In this edition of Southern Newsweek, the local albatross population benefits from a successful breeding season, so why is Doc asking the public for help? The fate of a building at Tyree College is up in the air and staff are being kept in the dark. And we find out why a group of Polynesian cyclists are traversing the length of the country. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. The local albatross population is continuing to grow with the recent hatching of more than 24 chicks. It's a successful breeding season for the Royal Albatross Centre, which staff are celebrating, but they need the public's help in keeping the chicks alive.
Getting comfortable in new surroundings. These recently hatched albatross are settling into their nests after a successful breeding season at the Royal Albatross Centre on Taiaroa Head.
We've just finished hatching just a couple of weeks ago, so our youngest chicks now is 2 weeks of age. We've got 26 healthy chicks right now.
These chicks will stay in the nest for 8 months, growing up to 12 kgs in size. Due to that lengthy period, adults only breed every second year, fitting in a break from the strenuous process. The hatching of these 26 chicks pushes the total count of albatross up to 250, but it'll take time to grow numbers substantially.
In the last 3 years, we've fledged about 75 chicks, so if we get another 24, 25 away, it'll be 100 in 4 years, so that's been quite an achievement. But of course it's going to be a number of years before those birds come back and start adding to the population.
High temperatures have been difficult for the young chicks who are relying on the shade of their parents while nesting. The ground temperature can reach 40 degrees Celsius, which has killed birds from heat exhaustion in the past. The remote centre has an irrigation line set up connecting to individual nests, but it constantly needs funding.
We've set up a Give a Little page and we're aiming to raise $5,000, and this is to truck in water from town to help with the irrigation system to keep the albatrosses cool during the very hot El Nino summer.
For the first time ever, the Royal Albatross Centre is streaming a live video feed of the nests and chicks' progress via its website. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
A local community group is leading a motion to make the city's main beach safer for residents. The Sinclair Action Group is seeking approval from authorities to build a new access ramp for swimmers and surfers. It's part of a newly formed relationship that's got civic staff uniting.
An accident waiting to happen. Big swells at Sinclair Beach are prompting concerned residents to seek approval for the construction of a new access ramp. Members of the Sinclair Action Group are hoping it'll increase safety for swimmers and surfers.
We had a number of cases of boards being broken, shoulders, legs, all sorts of people being injured. So one of the options is to, next to the saltwater pool, develop some kind of approach that we can get in and out safely.
The surf's not as violent at the saltwater pool end of the esplanade, where the ramp would be. It'd be made from thick rope and tyres, creating a 15 to 20 metre accessway. Group members are intending for the ramp to be a temporary measure until a permanent solution is found.
The idea is to put a series of tyres in like a web that you can sort of wash up onto and scramble up, as opposed to at the moment what the locals do is they scramble up in that area by the saltwater pool, but they're big rocks, they're slippery, people still fall over and get hurt there.
Severe storms last winter thrashed beach access and engulfed large parts of the sand dunes. The Dunedin City Council's plans for a short-term erosion protection will be delayed as more time is needed to find the right measures. The Sinclair Action Group is working with both the regional and city councils to look at access and wider issues within the beach.
Some of the reports that have been written by DCC or commissioned by the DCC talk about $20 million that need to be spent on working on that whole area. So this is not a small infrastructural issue. So it needs to be taken into consideration in the long-term budgets, and I think they are taking it seriously.
If the proposal for the tyre and rope ramp is accepted, work could begin within a few months. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
Tyree College staff are being left in the dark about the fate of their severely damaged hall. The facility was ravaged by fire late last year, destroying hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of school equipment and property. Now it's in the hands of the Ministry of Education.
Sorting through the remnants of a devastating blaze. Tyree College staff are still waiting to hear about the fate of their school hall, which was rendered useless by fire last November. There's been no government confirmation of how the facility will be developed, and that has frustrations brewing.
We've had 3 months of waiting. We have submitted some plans to the ministry for either fixing the hall, getting it knocked over and demolished, or building it a wee bit better than what it was using the same shell. So it's been submitted, that sort of information, but we're yet to hear back from them.
The fire burnt through the interior of the building, but the frame remains intact. The hall was being used to store items like sports uniforms and drama equipment. That's all been lost, along with valuable office space. Students have returned from holiday to the lingering stench of a burnt-out building, with no words as to what will happen next.
I did mistakenly say at prize giving last year we can't wait to get back into a hall before the fire. So we had to use a gymnasium for our assembly hall, and the kids are sitting on the floor of that, so it's not ideal. We are entitled to have a hall, but it's going to take time to replace or rebuild this building behind us.
It would cost more to replace the building than to repair it, but staff believe the hall should be demolished to make way for something new. Insurance claims also have to be made for replacing thousands of dollars worth of lost property. Staff have told the Ministry of Education about their preference and are now waiting for an answer.
Hopefully improving it and making it a more compliant building with double glazing, insulation and better heating. So they're with the Ministry at the moment, and it's a question of us waiting to see what decision they make. After all, it's actually their building, we just use it.
Staff have had no indication as to when a decision will be made or when a new hall will be ready to use. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
The declining penguin population is said to benefit from the introduction of a new role at the Yellow-eyed Penguin Trust. Staff have just welcomed a conservation science advisor who's covering new ground for the organisation, and she's aiming to aid the endangered species with a fresh approach.
Raising a glass to science, Yellow-eyed Penguin Trust staff and guests are celebrating the employment of a new colleague. They've introduced a science role to the organisation with the aim of investigating problems from a new perspective.
This is the first time that the Trust has been in a position to have its own science advisor, and so the Trust is always wanting to have good science to guide its conservation management program, and so this is a very exciting day for us with the launch of this position.
Trudy Webster will be researching the many different issues surrounding the marine birds. She'll be looking into why the population's at its lowest level in years and will consult with staff from other agencies in the process.
There are a whole heap of different issues, and just trying to work out which of those are predominant and what we can do about them. Try and look at the most up-to-date research that's being done at the moment, and just generally talk to all of the people involved in yellow-eyed penguin research.
The Otago Regional Council and Otago Museum are funding the role, keen to better understand the recent decline in penguin breeding and survival rates. Yellow-eyed penguins are endangered, commonly plagued by disease, a lack of food and attacks by predators. Last year, barracuda injured almost 50 birds, and Webster's hoping to get a clearer picture of how they can be better protected.
Ideally, we'd like to save the yellow-eyed penguins, and that would be the obvious ultimate goal, but doing what we can to manage the various populations and conserve them as best we can.
She's recently finished a PhD in marine science and zoology at the University of Otago. Her fixed-term position at the Trust is for 1 year, but it could be extended. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
More than 24 cyclists have pedalled into the city on their journey from one end of the country to the other. They're riding from Bluff to Cape Reinga to encourage Māori and Pacific people to take better care of their health. And they're setting a new record along the way.
Resting their well-worked legs, these cyclists have just arrived in Dunedin on their 15-day journey from Bluff to Cape Reinga. They're spreading a message among Māori and Pacific communities that more people need to access healthcare and, in particular, cancer services.
Many of us have know someone in our families close to us who has passed away from cancer. And so this is a vehicle for them to share that message around cancer. And it's also interesting to see the amount of families that are impacted by diabetes, cardiovascular disease as well.
Statistically, Māori and Pacific people are less likely to access cancer-related services and information. That's partly due to cultural and structural barriers. The word uso is Samoan for brother, and in this context is also being used as an acronym for understanding, strengthening and overcoming.
There's so many programs out there that are not probably, working as effectively as they should be, but also just simply by leading by example,
This undertaking is the reverse of a journey completed in 2012 when 16 cyclists travelled from Cape Reinga to Bluff. That was the first USO bike ride, and members are excited about being the only Polynesians to cycle Aotearoa both ways in promotion of health and well-being.
But having a vehicle where you can share these sorts of stories opens things up for conversations, and then it leads on to actions to what we can do about making change.
The journey's just over 2,200 kilometres and is being supported by the New Zealand Cancer Society. While in Dunedin, riders are engaging with the local Polynesian community, sharing their health-related stories before heading north. Rosie Mannins, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, a shop full of free stuff for tertiary students empties within minutes, leaving its organisers empty-handed. And we meet some of the new apprentices learning their trade at the nation's oldest botanic garden. Welcome back. A shop offering free flatting goods to tertiary students was cleaned out within minutes of opening. The free shop was a new concept implemented by the Otago University Students Association, and its unexpected popularity has organisers back at square one.
Rummaging through what's left after a successful morning, tertiary students are sorting through the few remaining items in the OUSA's free shop, which opened today. It was an idea mooted last year when student support workers were looking for ways to recycle goods left by departing scarfies.
We had a queue of about 30 or 40 people outside the door at 9 o'clock this morning when we opened, and they just came racing in, and within about 12 minutes the items that had taken us about 4 hours to put out last night were gone. So it's been a phenomenal success.
The association spent months collecting gear from students who wanted to pass their old furniture on to those who need it. Household goods offered through the shop included kitchen gear, electrical appliances and furniture. Customers are in favour of the concept, which is helping them to set up flats in preparation of the start of semester.
I think it's a really good idea. We got some cutlery and some plates and things, so it's really helpful because, as students, we don't have much money. And yeah, it's really cool. We got some really cute stuff, and this is like a really cute wine glasses. Yeah, so it's really cool.
The flurry of shopping activity reduced the abundance of appliances and furniture down to plates and cutlery within an hour. Now the OUSA is asking for more donations to keep the shop running.
We were going to run the shop today and tomorrow, so we'd love more donations if people wanted to donate. We'd also like to say thank you to the students who did, because the whole idea of this was about paying it forward, and it has been so incredible to see students being so generous.
The concept may be expanded beyond this week, depending on the generosity of the campus community. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
A fund for injured rugby players has been boosted by thousands during a local tournament. The Spartans contest saw young players taking the field against former All Blacks and Highlanders, but experience was no match for youthful vitality in the end.
Tackling a problem on the field. This 10-a-side rugby tournament's been held at Miller Park in Green Island to help players who have suffered physically from the game.
So we're raising funds for seriously injured players in New Zealand, the New Zealand Rugby Foundation, and yeah, basically we just want to try and help them out as much as they can, because they do so much for injured players, playing the game that New Zealand's crazy about.
The 16-team tournament started a couple of years ago with humble beginnings. It's grown to include some big-name supporters who travel to Dunedin to be involved. They've drawn a bumper crowd, and Waldron's hoping to match last year's fundraising tally of $11,000.
Oh, it's just getting bigger and better every year. It's massive. The guys that were coming down, Carlos Spencer running around with us today, Peter Alatini. It's just really special having these lads come down and join us. So, you know, to get guys like that here, whereas 2 years ago it was just a few of us old fellas running around. It's massive, massive movement, so it's awesome.
The contest was won by a scratch side assembled at the last minute. They beat former All Blacks and Highlanders playing for the Spartans in the semis. It was a demanding return to the field for some.
Yeah, it's been pretty physical. Well, mate, I say that now I'm 40, you know, so when you're trying to run around at 40 years old and you're taking a bit of contact, mate, it's pretty tough. But for these youngsters, mate, they can handle it. But, you know, the standard's been pretty high.
But he and other well-known big hitters were more than happy to be involved, regardless of the scorecard.
You know, I've forgotten how the body handles it these days. But no, mate, it's been a really good weekend, you know, and full credit to the boys that organised this. I think they've done a tremendous amount of work. The crowd's come out today, which has been good, and we've had some pretty good rugby.
Waldron's planning to expand the tournament next year to accommodate more teams over 2 days of play. Rosie Mannins, 39, Dunedin News.
The latest crop of horticultural apprentices are getting stuck into work at the country's oldest botanic garden. 3 passionate green thumbs have been selected to complete their tertiary studies at the Otago facility, and they're hoping their time in the greenhouse will bloom into a career.
Mucking in, these new horticulture apprentices are getting straight to work as they begin a lengthy stint at the Dunedin Botanic Garden. The 3-year program is all about giving them hands-on experience in their chosen field.
It's a great mix of both the practical training as well as the theoretical base, where they understand both they can do the work, but they can also, more importantly, understand the science behind what they're doing.
The intensive course serves as a full-time job and part-time study for the apprentices. It's that mix that makes it an appealing opportunity for those who are passionate about plants.
I've sort of known about it for years and years and years, and this is the 3rd time I applied and I finally got in, so it's something I've wanted to do for a long, long time.
2 of the 3 new apprentices will spend most of their time moving between the garden's various collections. The other newbie is happy to spend her time getting hands-on in the new propagation facility, all while gaining sought-after skills.
I'd like to get some experience in the gardens, and I get the qualification at the end as well.
The garden currently has 9 active apprentices at varying stages of their qualifications. The latest batch are keen to learn from those who have come before them, as well as permanent staff.
I'm just so passionate about plants, and I just thought this would be an amazing experience with all the people that work here and all the knowledge that goes on. And yeah, and I've known people that have done it, and yeah, so I had some good feedback, and I just seems like a great opportunity.
After 3 years at the garden, the apprentices will have earned a certificate in horticulture. It's a qualification they hope will keep them working in the great outdoors for many years to come. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
And just ahead on Southern Newsweek, we find out how Otago Hockey is attracting new interest in the sport, and thousands learn how to be safe in the water. Welcome back. Dozens of athletic adults were getting reacquainted with a popular winter sport at the weekend. Otago Hockey organised a showcase event ahead of the busy competition season, and coaching staff are hoping it'll lead to growth among local clubs.
Taking a hit, these sporty adults are hitting the turf for Otago Hockey's annual Have a Go Day. The tryout event was designed to entice some experienced players into the upcoming winter competition.
We've struggled over the last couple of years with just the amount of adults they sort of die off, and just bringing them back in. There's heaps of high school kids that play in our Prem competition at the moment, which is awesome, but we just want to get some more adults back playing.
Doherty's pleased with the turnout after last year's showcase attracted just a handful of people. There were about 620 adult players registered with the organisation last season. Yesterday's relaxed event was aimed at introducing potential club members to what's available for adults living permanently in the city.
We just get the uni ones come through, but we need a good base that are going to live in Dunedin and stay in Dunedin as well. It helps the clubs to just keep players there and build a strong club pretty much. With the students it's hard because they just come and go as they please, so just getting a nice base.
Hockey is primarily played during winter, with the next club competition beginning in March. While Doherty's keen to attract more adults into the sport, she says getting them enough time on the turf is already causing concern.
We have so many teams that we don't have enough turf space. The turfs are full from when school finishes at 3 till 10:30 at night every day, and then the weekends it's chocker from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. at night, so yeah, it's well used.
The club is also on the hunt for more coaches to help push players old and new to succeed. For now though, staff are focused on helping these guys rediscover their love for hockey. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
A local weightlifting coach is on a mission to raise money for international career development. Amanda Young coaches special needs powerlifters and is trying to get to Spain to extend her knowledge. And it's all in an effort to help others.
Giving guidance to special athletes. This local lifting coach is trying to further her knowledge and that of the athletes she trains by attending an international seminar. She's fundraising to travel to Spain to attend a coaching session in powerlifting.
I've got the opportunity to go to Spain to do a level 2 course on coaching Down syndrome and as well as mainstream. So I took the opportunity to take it and just to have the experience just outside Dunedin, I suppose, and see what the world's like for these guys in the future.
Young is holding a car wash fundraiser, needing just over $1,000 to hit her target. The money will allow her to travel at the end of March. She's keen to learn more about nutrition and working out, and also wants to raise money to help athletes travel for competitions.
Bigger picture for us is let these guys have some fun for all the hard work that they do, and look at even bigger pictures of travelling overseas and competing amongst their own in the world teams.
Young trains 8 lifters locally. She says the transition she's seen in these athletes has been incredible, and they're very passionate about the sport. Ryan Stewart is a Special Olympics ambassador and one of her athletes who's been training since 2011. He can now squat 90 kgs and deadlift 160.
I've been competing up in Christchurch and also in Otago and also down here in Dunedin.
Young says the ultimate goal is to get her athletes on the international stage. She says with the Spanish coaching session and funding for her athletes, she can see it happening in the near future. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
And finally, local children are meeting at the city's main beaches to learn how to be safe in the sea. Surf Life Saving New Zealand's beach education program recently began in Otago with thousands of primary school pupils taking part. It's aimed at reducing water-related tragedies.
Getting out of the classroom and into the water. These Brockville school pupils are just a handful of the 2,000 local youngsters taking part in a beach education program this summer. The aim is to get them comfortable around water at an early age.
The big thing is to try and teach them when they're younger so they can go back and talk to their families and say, this is what we learnt today, this is how I spot a rip, this is what we do if you do get stuck in a rip. And it's just teaching them at a young age so when they grow up they know where, if it's looking a bit dodgy in the water, they know where to go swimming and can advise their mates not to go swim there and swim where the safest places, especially between the flags, or if it's not a patrolled area, where the safest place will be.
The safety push comes during a horror summer in New Zealand waters. Since the beginning of the year, more than a dozen people have drowned. None of the deaths were at local beaches, but Clutterbuck says the region's lifeguards have been kept busy.
Locally it's been pretty good, there's been no major incidents, there's been quite a few rescues on the regional guard program, but only around 12 to 15. So which is a pretty good number over the 4 beaches for 6 weeks.
Nationwide, more than 40,000 kids are taking part in this year's Surf Life Saving education program. Participation in the south is up by about 500 children. This time around, the course is taking a more practical approach to beach safety.
It's been restructured the last 12 months, so it's just we're trying to sell out a little bit more, the kids getting more down into it and learning what a rip is and how to sculpture a rip themselves in the sand. And we go out to the schools that have come back in the past to see if they want their new year kids coming through, and then the older kids.
Full-time beach patrols have ended, but weekend volunteer lifeguards will be on the city's beaches until the end of March. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
And that's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. Remember to check us out on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, or take a look at our website at dunedintv.co.nz. I'm Holly Buchanan, thanks for watching.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.